All right, let's continue on with the oval window. The couple things I did off camera is this gap was really wide in the middle, and then I tried to get it as close as I can. It's not perfect, and I don't think it ever was. I can't see any other ways to get it better. I mean, I know this thing was hit in the back because the apron was bent, and just trying to get the gaps pretty good. That's pretty good there. I mean, it's like wider here than it is over here, right? It's like over here. I don't know. But again, I don't think they really fit that well when they were built. So anyway, I was doing some metal finishing up here. I used my slapper file. And like I said, this side is almost a little bit high. Okay, this is high here, then it's low up here, then it's high right there. It's still high. So yeah, I was hitting it down with this. Maybe I'll do a little bit with it and I'll show you how it works. It works really good to metal finish. You know, you hit this on there and it doesn't do as much as like pounding on it. It doesn't put dents in it. It just kind of smooths it down. It's kind of like a body spoon. It's just a file. You can take any file and you can just bend it like this. That's what I did years ago. With this one, we had a slapper file in the shop, and I said, oh, I can make one of those. So I made one. That's what this is. I've had this for 30, 40 some odd years, 40 years. All right, let's try some. All right, so if you saw, I was actually angling the hammer just a little bit and beating on that edge so that it doesn't make too much hammer mark in there. That way that's all metal finished right there. There's no ripples in it or anything. But it's down a little bit lower. It's still, this is a little bit low. It's a little high over here. It's all over the place. I don't know if it was just that way. Probably it was that way from the factory, but it's just a little tiny bit now. It was pretty bad when we started. So, yeah, over here. God, it's still high over here. I hammer over here, then it makes this part go back up. So it's kind of the way it is. And you could feel it before. It was like, you could feel a high right here. I don't know if you guys can see my hand, but you could feel a high right here. You could feel it go whoop, you know. And I don't know if it was from, I don't think it was from the accident. I think it's just the way the car was made was kind of crude. These were stamped steel and put together. A little crude back in the day. I mean, compared to the other cars that were manufactured, these were really superior. Okay, you look at an old Chevy in the early 50s. Oh my gosh, they were just jams. They didn't care. The old stuff, you know, if you look at the early 50s Chevys and Fords and stuff, and then, you know, the body lines, they just sucked. They were all over the place if you saw them back in the day. A lot of guys have redone them all, and then they sit there and work them all out and get them real perfect. I don't know if I'll get this one that good, but I just want it to look, I want it to look like, you know, all off, weird. So anyway, but it's a little low right here. And if I push that out a little more, the Decklid out more, then the edge sticks out more. It's just the arc is just slightly different on it. And I've tried to bend it, straighten it, push out in the middle, push down the edges, stuff like that, re-arc it, but no. As soon as I move it, it seems to move somewhere else. As soon as I hit here, it starts to pop that area up, hammer that down, and this part goes up over here. Because something, the way they formed it, wasn't, it's not, I mean, it could be fixed. You could spend 100 hours back here on this thing, and I just don't really want to spend that kind of time, but I could probably fix it, but it would just take a lot of work just to get it really perfect. But it looks good enough. I think it looks pretty nice. Let's look at it up closer. You guys can see. It's definitely an improvement probably from the factory. It looks, you know, fairly even. But see if you can see right here, it's sticking up. You know, at least almost an eighth right there. And I hammered that down, and it was pretty flat. When I was done hammering it, then I hammered over here, and it went back up again. Oh well, it could be like, I don't know what it is. I had to figure it all out to get it out of there, but I don't know if I'm gonna. Okay, anyway, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna block everything down. I'm just gonna take, I don't know how to do this. I'm just gonna look for the major parts of the dent. This is epoxy primer, so this is not that. And yeah, you know, I use a spray can to do the guide coat, which you can use that powder stuff. It's better, definitely better. But I'm going to block this down and kind of look at it. I might just use a DA. I can get it really good with the DA. So might do this area with the DA, do these edges with my hand, with smaller block. I got one right here. I'll use one of these softy blocks and not push on it really hard. See, that's the stuff I'm looking for right there. That stuff. That's going to leave a little glazing there to fix that. That's what I'm going to do, is glaze them up, then final prime them up. I think maybe 2 coats of primer, 1 block and 1. Then I'm going to paint the jams on it. That's what we're going to do, I think. Alright, we'll move you up into high speed for a while and let's check it out. All right, so what I do now is take a pencil and circle. That way it's easier to find. I've had a little high spot here. I knocked it down, so I got some lows, all the little hammer marks around that. And then, like I feel these, I can see them, I feel them, and then I'm like, okay, that needs, basically this whole area right here needs a fill. So I can find it pretty easy. Got little stuff here. That needs a fill. There's tons of stuff. I'll fill all that in. This way you don't put too many coats of primer on. You don't have to put as much primer. You can catch it all. Not have to waste too much material trying to find stuff. Some of these I think will fill with primer. Really, that one needs a little skin coat. And then some of them you'll see them and they're just scratches, so you don't want to do anything with those. Oh, this needs a fill too. All right, so that's what I need to do. I don't know if I'll put that on camera, the filling part. I mean, I'm going to use polyester glazing. I'll show you what I use. A couple good products. I use this USC Pro Glaze. I don't know what this one is. I mean, it works really good, but I just got it at the paint store and I liked it a lot. But they don't have it very many places, so. Oh, sorry guys, I did a little sanding without you. I've just got this area refilled here. Got all this stuff sanded down. Those are looking good. And then I'm deciding what primer to put on it next. Eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the last primer with Galva Prime. And that will give me a nice air surface to sand. I mean, all these primers I use work pretty good, but that one really does a good job of also entrapping any rust or anything like that. There's little bits and corners and little things that are poking through right now, and it'll stop all that. So anyway, we'll get onto it here in a little bit more. So I found basically if you use a really steady hand with the DA, you can actually do a pretty good job of blocking it. You want to kind of do as much as you can with that, but at the end, a lot of times you'll want to get out your hand block and just do that final little bit. This saves a lot of time, so that's how I usually do it. Go through it pretty quickly, and then do my little bit by hand right at the very end. You might see me Alright, so I shot a really thin coat of epoxy primer on here, just enough to just make it for adhesion coat. And then I'm going to go over it with the non-DTM high build that I got. Since I've got that, I'm going to burn that up first. And then we'll go on to the last coat. I'm going to use Galva Prime. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Alright, so this isn't the final coat of primer. All that is this is my first high build. So I'm going to sand this once, guide coat it real quick. And there's a little ding right there. So I got to fix that one. Plus there's just whatever else there is once I guide coat it real quick. I'm just going to use spray can today. Got these cheap ones from Lowe's that are lacquer. They work good for this. But, it does work better if you use some of the powder stuff and that, It just depends on what I've got around, and really don't feel like buying anything like that. So this works really good. Best to use base coat. I like base coat because it goes on real even, real fine. I like lacquer though. If I'm going to use spray cans, it's always going to be lacquer for that. Just so it dries really fast and doesn't gum up on the paper. However you want to do it, it's fine. Either way. Aha! I found some rust holes right here. But I can feel inside here with my finger, and I can feel it's like there's no rust around them, but there's like 3 pits, really deep pits right there, and those are the ones that I can feel right through. So let's cut those out, and we'll take a look at it. Let's see if I can get you guys involved here. You can see all this like kind of dark low stuff. It's low, so it's like this whole area needs a fill right here. Needs a skim coat with and even like there's like 3 dents right there, and then there's a little dent right here. Feel it with your whole hand, it's always best, but when I have a pencil in my hand, I can't really do that very well. So that's gotta go. Almost the whole thing needs a skim. Then there's all this down here. So, and that edge. There's a little spot right there. I don't know if that's really that low, really. Well, it's not. Some of this I'll fill in with a primer, so this is just epoxy primer, so it doesn't fill at all. A little skim on there, I guess. Yeah. It's rough. What do we got here? Yeah, it's a little wavy. I think I'll let that go for primer. I think that might fill that. It's just hard. It's such a really small weights, but you can feel them pretty good. But from experience, I'll go with just primer on that. See where I'm at. A lot to do. All right, so these things are kind of in my way. I wanted to get them put away. I've got some tubing. Finally took time to go get that. So I'm going to make this piece. The ones on this will look like this. So yeah, I'm just going to make those. It's just a slight arc. Let's get it. And so what I'm going to do is just use my, tubing bender for. Well, I'm not going to use a tubing bender. I have a conduit bender. That should do it. Well, there's nothing fancy about this. It just a little bit bent. It's about what was on there. Even if it's a little bit off, it's not going to matter. Seat just tucks in there. Seat cover. All right, one down, one to go. Do one more sanding here. Check this one out. I don't know. This is where I was doing all that hammering. Come on, stay in my hand. Not too bad. I was really trying to hit this edge when I straightened that. That's a couple little ways there. Really not bad. Not much. Those little nibs there. I can even leave those. They're really minor. Well, I guess I'll get on with it. All right, so we got that monster. Big area here to just kind of, just real minor stuff. Kind of like that one. It's really, this is all just small. And then this one here. And I don't know, I might just throw some over that, but I think it would fill with a coat of primer. Even that, maybe. I think that's about all I'm going to do on that fender. Really pretty straight. Move on. Alright, I wanted to show you this because I just got doing this off camera. I'm going to sand this edge by hand, but you can see how much of that primer I took off. I mean, there's almost nothing left on there. 2 heavy coats of that of a primer that I'm using. It's a non-DTM, and then I just got a few little touch-ups here. So most of that gets sanded off. I don't have to leave a real thick coat of primer, and I'll just fix these 2 dings here, and this is ready. After that, I'm gonna say another 2 coats of Galva primer on here. So I think what I'm gonna use now, and then I'll sand that, and it's done. But I'll do again. I'll do that with a block. All right, it's actually getting dark, so pretty dark out right now. A lot darker than it looks in this video. But I got the primer on these. Take a look at them tomorrow. Got this all primed. Almost completely dark out. You can see there's just no sun. Unfortunately, that's how it goes this time of year. So I had to hustle it up to get everything protected. So it's all done. Epoxy primer underneath, and then 1 coat of this, or two coats of everywhere. So anyway, well, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Well, let's check and see what we look like here. There's just some microwaves in there, if you can see them. They're really small, so primer actually will, and that too right there, a little bit right there. Primer will actually fill those things. This primer come out pretty smooth. So this needs one more. This needs, well, it's first blocking. This has not been blocked yet. That was just a basically just fill in some of the lows and get it closer. And now I'll block all this stuff once really good, and then I'll prime it again, and then I'll do one more blocking, a light blocking, mostly hand sanding or whatever, until it's painted. But this one here has already been final blocked, so I blocked it, and then it's had a coat of surfacer on it, so this is ready, other than just final sanding and blocking, you know, the final block, which is not much. It's a finer paper you use on that. So like I do my rough blocking with like 150 or 180. It just depends on what I'm doing, how I feel like doing it. This fender here is ready for its first blocking, and then same thing, it'll get final primed like what that one is, and then painted. I just went with the other primer. I'm going to be using a different primer on the final on this. All right, I don't know where I was when I talked to you guys last. I was just kind of letting the leaf blower do its thing, but hopefully it didn't irritate you guys too much. But I'm going to go ahead and just give these a whip with some guide coat. These ones from Lowe's are pretty good. They're lacquer, and they're pretty fine spray. It comes out better than actually the other ones for this. So, I mean, I could use the powdered stuff or whatever. I don't have any, so I got this just sitting around. It works fine. I can do just as nice a work with this as I can with anything. It doesn't really matter. It's all you. What do you got? Time, what materials you got laying around, it all works. I really like the base coat method. It just comes out really smooth and even. You can spray it on there if you've got that laying around. I just don't want to go clean a spray gun. And I can just grab a spray can and do this real quick. It doesn't take very long. As you can see, so this all needs its first blocking. I think I had some on here, so this is getting an extra one. I was looking at this, and this is just not going to work. I'm going to have to do something with it, and I was just figuring out what I was going to do. Yeah, I could go ahead and just redo the metalwork here, and I don't think I'm going to do that. What I think happened is I thought I had that pretty well right, but I think what happened is when I welded this corner up, I had a gap, and when you have a gap and you try and fill it with weld, sometimes it'll shrink, and I think that's what happened. So I'm just going to use fiberglass reinforced filler. I have a bunch of it right now, and then I'll make it look a little bit more like this. What I have to do is bring that corner up just a little bit. It'll last forever, you know. It's just some people don't like to use it. Oh, I like my metal to be right, whatever. It's fine. As long as it doesn't crack, I'm fine with it. So I think it's probably the best way out of this, because it's just too difficult to work on that area to try and get it really perfect. And, you know, without doing a repair section and going into a whole big old, making a big deal out of it. So I'll just grind this. I'm going to take this off, grind this off. I got a little mark right here where it starts. I'll just grind this off, and I'll reshape that. I'll take the fender on and off 5 or 6 times to get it right, but it's what it is. So fiberglass reinforced filler, you can put on thicker. Even you can, it's not going to be on really thick. It's not going to be on even probably a 1/4 inch, but it's going to be pushing it for the limit of filler, which is a 1/4 inch. So and the fender bolts on there, so I know that if I use that, it won't crack at all. So yeah, with just filler, it probably wouldn't, but I'm going to go ahead and, since I've got the product, I'll just take this off and redo that. All right, so this is what it looks like. If you wondered, put that on there. You can put that on almost as thick as you want, and it won't crack. It just depends. You know, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's a limit. I'm not going to be anywhere close to it, but we'll go ahead and do that. So you do when your body work isn't, you can't get it quite right. You got an area you can't fix. You can use this stuff. They have this chameleon product in Evercoat. You can spend $125 a gallon for it, or you can get this stuff over in Refinish Depot. You can have it mail ordered to you, and they include tax in it. It's super cheap. I'm gonna say about half of that. I don't know, inflation, so I don't know what it really is right now, but it's gone up. But it was about half price. It's better stuff. All right, if you look right here, you can see it's not quite a quarter of an inch, just under, just so you know. That way, let's see if it fits. Take a look. All right, so yeah, that's pretty close now. Where the fender beating's in there, it'll hide that no problem. For it was questionable. So it's still just a hair. I'm trying to think. I just got to coat this part and straighten it. You know, the gap goes wide and thin. Okay, so I've got to do that and try and get the edge the right place, and then just put a little bit of glazing over here to kind of fill in some of the pitty stuff from that stuff. It's really not much filler going to go on there, not anything thicker. It's just going to be enough to smooth it out, so that should do it. Well, I'll tell you what, it certainly looks different when you're looking at it through the lens. I'm looking at it through the camera. I mean, it definitely looks different, but it's weird. I sprayed this base coat right here, and it didn't look that much different. It's really hard to tell, because if you look at it at this angle, it almost looks the same. It looks a little bit different in the camera. I'm trying to look at it from your eyes. Let's get you guys back where it's, and then yeah, but when you paint it on, it looks a lot more blue. So I don't know. It's really cool looking. It's got an incredible cast to it. If you get at an angle, you can see how it gets really midnighty, and then it goes to real light. So on the bug, it'll be like light on the top, really dark in the corners and stuff. Kind of neat looking. I don't know. Just shot that under to see a bigger area. See what it looks like. Just not sure. Yeah, it's weird. It looks so much more blue, you guys, in the camera. So you're not gonna really see what I'm seeing. I'm looking at it in frame. I look at outside of frame, and it doesn't look as obviously blue as it does in the camera. So it's so hard to tell. It's really hard for you to see. Again, if you look right here, that's the same. Hard to believe it, huh? When you put the clear on it, it just changes. I almost thought it was gonna be too light, but I do have more paint. I can remix it. I'm thinking about it, so I don't know. Tell me what you guys think, and we'll go from there. I think it's a little too blue. I think if I just tone it down a little bit, kind of like the cast of it though, the darker cast. Let's look further away. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't want it to look like Strato Silver. I don't want it to look, but getting the original Strato Silver is like you can't get that paint, but you can see if you can see now in the center, but if you walk over here, if you see that spot in the door, right, and then it starts to go away as you get to an angle. So it's weird. It's a different cast, different metallics. They don't make those old ones anymore. It's like aluminum paint. It's really blah. It didn't have any. I mean, back in the day, I mean, they were trying to sell cars, and Volkswagen was hated. Germans, you know, if you look at old photos and you see old photos of parking lots in the United States, you don't see Volkswagens in the parking lots in the 50s. You just don't. But in the 60s, mid 60s, all of a sudden after Love Bug came out, they got really popular. So, you know, yeah, they were, well, around that time. They were popular before that, but it was like in the, like, I'd say early 60s they started to become more popular, and then mid 60s they got really popular. So yeah, that was but in the 50s in the US, look at old photos, you really won't believe it. You'll be like, man, there's no Volkswagens in there, nothing. It's all Buick, Chevys, Oldsmobile, Ford, all kinds of stuff. A lot of Crown Vics back then people drove, DeSotos, but you don't see any Volkswagens hardly. So they were trying to sell cars, so they had really cool colors. They were coming out with these, you know, metallics was like brand new. So they wanted to sell some stuff. So anyway, that's where we're at. It's hard to tell in a Decklid too, because it's concave, and and when it has a cast like that, it actually gives it even more of the blue. So it just looks weird. But looks, now you can see that spot where I painted. Yeah. It's weird. I don't know. It's impossible to get right, but you just got to get it close enough to where it'll work. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. I hope you enjoyed what we did so far, and it's really coming along. But it's if you look at this angle, what do you think? At that angle, it almost looks the same. It's weird. Then you go around, and you just see the blue right now, and you go around this way. It still looks blue. It's just the light, when the light hits it, like from right here, I could see it almost looks the same color. Almost looks the same. It's weird. I don't know. So where do you match it from? I don't know. Anyway, I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.